I've had this for a bit now, and a few people ask me about it, so here is my take. This is basically for anyone who is tired of tripping over yard tools, dragging bikes in and out of the garage, or stacking outdoor stuff in a way that turns into a mess by mid-season. If you have a backyard or side yard and you want one place where everything lives, this shed is meant for that. What grabbed my attention with this one was the look and the door. A lot of storage sheds either look like a little toy house or they lean super rustic. This one has a more modern, clean look. The colors are gray with darker trim, and it ends up blending in instead of sticking out. It is the kind of shed I do not mind seeing every day from the patio. The sliding barn door is the thing I notice the most in real use. I thought it was just a style choice, but it changes how you actually open the shed. With a regular swinging door, you need space in front, and you end up fighting it when the ground is uneven or when something is in the way. With this sliding door, I can walk up close, slide it open, and start moving things around without backing up. When I am carrying a rake or a weed trimmer, that is just easier. Size-wise, the 10x7 footprint is big enough that it stopped feeling like a closet. I can store long-handled tools along one side, keep a couple of bigger items like bikes or a mower in there, and still have room to step inside and turn around. That matters more than raw storage numbers, because if you cannot move around, you stop using the shed and you start leaning stuff against the outside again. In terms of how it feels and how it is built, it is plastic resin panels, but it does not feel flimsy the way some cheap sheds do. The panels have structure to them and there are metal reinforcements in the frame. When I push on the walls from the inside, there is some flex, but it is controlled. The door has a steel frame, and that helps the sliding action feel more solid. The slide rail also feels like it is meant to resist someone just yanking the door off track. There is a locking point for a padlock, but the padlock is not included. I added one I already had. Day to day, I like having that option, even if it is mostly about keeping honest people honest. I do not treat a shed like a safe, but I do not want it to be effortless to open either. The window and ventilation have both been more useful than I expected. The window brings in enough daylight that I am not using my phone flashlight every time I need something. The ventilation is what keeps it from getting that damp closed-up smell. I have stored things like bags of potting soil, cardboard boxes for a short time, and some seasonal cushions in sealed bins. The inside has stayed dry enough that I have not had mold or that sticky moisture feel. That is with real weather swings too, not just mild days. Let me talk about setup, because that is where people usually get stuck. This is not a 1-hour project. I took my time, and for me it was basically 2 days. I did not work non-stop, but I probably spent around 8 hours total. Some steps are much easier with a second person, especially when you are holding a wall panel upright while lining up the next piece. I did parts of it alone, but there were a couple moments where I stopped and waited for help because I did not want to force anything and crack a panel. The instructions were clear enough that I did not feel lost, but you do have to pay attention to orientation. When two parts look similar, it is easy to flip something the wrong way and only realize it later. My biggest advice from actually building it is to prep the base correctly. If your base is not level, you will feel it immediately in the door. A sliding door wants things straight. Once I had it sitting on a level base, the door motion stayed smooth. In daily use, the low maintenance part is real. I have not had to paint it, seal it, or do anything special. When it gets dusty or has pollen on it, I just rinse it off. The only thing I have done as routine care is keep the track clear. Leaves and grit can build up where the door slides, and if you ignore that, it starts to feel rough. A quick sweep and an occasional wipe solves it. I have used this through heavy rain and windy days, and it has held up the way I hoped. Water has not made its way inside in any meaningful way for me, but I also do not store items directly on the floor. I use a couple of raised shelves and plastic bins for things I care about. That is just how I treat any shed, because wind-driven rain can surprise you no matter what brand you buy. The structure itself has stayed stable, and I have not seen panels warping in the heat. One real-world scenario that sold me on the space was spring cleanup. I pulled everything out of the garage that was outdoor related. Rakes, shovel, leaf blower, hoses, folding chairs, a couple of bikes, and random bins of seasonal stuff. I expected I would have to play that frustrating puzzle game where you get everything inside but cannot open the door anymore. I did not have that problem. I could arrange it so the items I use weekly are near the front, and the once-a-year stuff is deeper inside. That sounds basic, but it is the difference between a shed you actually use and a shed that becomes a junk box. Now, I do need to address something in the script requirements. There are no smart features here, and there is no mobile app. That is not a negative or a positive, it is just the reality. This is a simple storage shed. The only thing that feels even slightly mechanical is the sliding door hardware and the locking point. In a way, I like that. There is nothing to pair, nothing to update, nothing to stop working because an app changed. What I like most is the door design, the practical interior space, and how it stays looking neat without me babysitting it. The look is modern enough that it does not make my yard feel cluttered, and the window and ventilation make it more pleasant to use than a dark plastic box. Limitations are mostly what you would expect. You need a good level base. Assembly takes time, and you should plan for help. The door track needs to be kept clean. If you live in an area with extreme snow loads, I would pay attention to placement and consider what reinforcement makes sense for your conditions, because any shed can struggle if it is asked to handle more than it was designed for. Overall, after living with it, it did what I wanted. It got the outdoor mess out of my garage, it keeps my tools and gear in one place, and it does not ask for much attention. If your goal is simple outdoor storage with a door that is easy to live with, this one fits that role well. If you have questions about what I was able to fit inside, or anything you want me to check on it, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.